I met him at my favorite club one Friday. My friends and I were unwinding after a long week. He slid onto the bar stool next to me, smiling easy, ordering 2 waters with lime. He made a joke about the DJ's terrible playlist, and I laughed. We chatted for a while. Music, work, weekend plans. Eventually, I mentioned I come here almost every weekend for the vibe. He grinned and asked if I lived nearby. I almost told him my neighborhood, then caught myself. I laughed and said, "Sorry, I'm a little secretive about my address. A girl's gotta have some mystery, right?" He laughed too.
Clever dodge.
He then scribbled his number on a napkin. "Call me sometime." I told myself it was harmless fun. I hadn't been back in 2 weeks. Work was hectic. But on week 3, I was free and visited the club again when I spotted him in the corner again. My heart thumped. "Hey," he said, as if no time had passed. "I looked for you last 2 Fridays. A part of me felt flattered. Part of me felt uneasy. We spent some more time chatting and laughing, and he seemed harmless, so I smiled and played it cool. He asked, "Coffee tomorrow?" And I agreed. He arrived with a single pink rose, no vase, just the stem wrapped in tissue. "For you," he said, voice low. It felt sweet and unsettling. I tucked it into my bag and we talked about favorite movies, our jobs. It felt normal enough. Before leaving, he asked, "Dinner tomorrow?" Again, I agreed, but I felt that knot in my stomach. Over salmon and salad, I watched him. When the waiter approached, his tone snapped from polite to cold, like he owned the place. I caught his eye. He smiled at me, then back at the waiter. "Just making sure he gets me," he whispered. The waiter flinched. I caught the waiter's eye. He looked relieved when we left. After dessert, he said, "Come up to my place for a nightcap." His voice was firm, almost commanding. I shook my head. "I've got an early meeting," I lied. He pressed, "Just 1 drink." I refused again, and he finally let it go. Barely. He hesitated, then his smile tightened. I excused myself, said goodbye, and slipped out to my car. I had already shared my number by then, and while driving toward my home, I saw his car behind me and texted. I typed, "Are you following me?" He then called, and so I answered. His voice was soft, "Just making sure you get home safe." I felt a chill and asked him not to follow and disconnected the call. I turned onto a side street. He followed. I made 2 quick turns. Still there. Finally, a red light gave me a chance. He stopped at the intersection, staring straight ahead. When I reached home, the phone buzzed again with his message. He said that he was sorry and wanted to meet again to make things right. I replied that I will be busy for a couple of weeks, and so I'll let you know when we can meet again. He replied that he had been waiting to see me for weeks, and now that he has finally got to know me, he wanted to meet more. I replied honestly and said that maybe it is best if we do not meet, and I don't think we are good for each other. Then he got really personal and angry, and said things that were not appropriate and I shouldn't say them here. I blocked him immediately and went to sleep. The next day, I started getting phone calls from unknown numbers. I ignored them all and decided not to receive any. I knew it was him. In the night when I reached home after office, I found a bouquet of the same pink roses on my doorstep. The same pink rose, now a dozen. A card read, "Sorry if I scared you. Let's meet again." My heart pounded. I threw the flowers into the street and asked myself how'd he get my address. I went inside and decided to send him a text asking him politely not to send me flowers or any gift. I asked him even not to come close to my house because I do not want to meet you anymore.
That was the right thing to do.
Yeah, but he immediately called from a new number, and I decided to answer this time, just to make things right. He was already angry and yelling. He was furious. "You think you can just vanish?" His words came fast, sharp. I tried to remain calm, but I was literally shaking out of anger. He said that I wasted his time and said things that didn't make sense, and so I didn't answer. I only politely asked him not to try and meet me again, and then disconnected the call. I lived alone and I was afraid, so I thought it is best if I informed someone from the family. My uncle lived nearby. I called him about this weird guy and said that there is something wrong and I'm scared. He invited me over and even said that he could come over, but I told him to rest. I'd handle it. That night, I lay in bed when I heard soft footsteps on the hardwood outside my door. Slow, deliberate. My heart thudded so loudly I was sure it would give me away. First, the handle of the other bedroom door clicked and swung open. For a heartbeat, I thought it was my uncle, until I remembered he didn't have a key. My pulse spiked. The intruder's shoes scuffed against the carpet as they moved across the hall. My breath caught in my throat. I crawled off the bed and slipped into the closet, yanking the door shut behind me. The tiny space smelled of laundry and fear. In the pitch dark, I pressed myself flat against the wall, every muscle trembling.
You knew it was him, right?
Outside, I heard the bedroom door close. Soft, careful, as if not to disturb anything. Then the steps started again, coming closer to my door. I pressed my hand over my mouth to stifle a scream. My mind raced to call Uncle, or 911, but I knew the moment my phone lit up, he'd see it. A low voice whispered my name. My heart slammed. I stayed perfectly still. My phone in hand, screen dark. He moved past my door, whispering my name again. Then, silence. After an eternity, the footsteps retreated and the front door clicked shut. My body wouldn't stop shaking as I fumbled for my phone. I texted my uncle. He's inside my house now. He answered almost immediately. Stay quiet. I'm on my way. I am calling the police. It felt like forever waiting, but finally I heard sirens getting closer. My heart was pounding as I crawled out of the closet, thinking, if he was still inside and can come out anytime. I slowly made my way to the front door and opened it, and there stood my uncle and 2 police officers. Relief washed over me. They searched every room and every closet but found no one, and nothing was missing. In the kitchen they noticed a window wide open, the latch broken. It was clear someone like him could have slipped in there. I told the officers about the footsteps and the whispered name, but without proof they couldn't charge him when he denied everything he did in front of the investigating officer. They advised me to get a restraining order against him. If I was sure. I said that I was not just sure. I saw this man from my cupboard, and then I signed the papers immediately, my hand still shaking. Now, even with the order in place, I still jump at every creak in my house when alone. I lived on a schedule. I wake up at 7, gym by 7:30, at my desk by 9, dinner at 6, lights out by 11. It wasn't some self-help thing. I just liked routine. Structure made me feel in control. I rented a place in a small apartment complex outside Portland. Quiet area. Nothing flashy. My unit faced the back alley. Less noise, less traffic. I liked that. That was probably my mistake, because nobody paid attention to the alley. It started on a Tuesday. I came back from my run and noticed my doormat was crooked. Slightly pushed forward, like someone had stepped on it or caught it with their shoe. I brushed it off. Maybe the wind. Maybe I'd bumped it leaving earlier. Whatever. Next day, same thing. Then Thursday, it was worse. The mat was flipped completely over. But what really got me was that my door handle had a smudge, like someone had touched it with greasy fingers. Still, I told myself it was nothing. Then Friday night, around 11:45, I was brushing my teeth when I heard the distinct sound of gravel crunching outside my bathroom window. I froze, listened. 1, 2 steps. Then silence. I live on the ground floor. That window faces the alley, but the blinds were down, locked. I turned off the light, peeked through the side. Nobody there. But here's the part that freaked me out. When I woke up the next morning, my trash bin, normally up against the wall, had been dragged 3 feet to the left. That wasn't when. I decided to install a motion sensor camera just above the door, pointing toward the alley. Cheap Amazon model, easy to set up. It would record to a micro SD card when motion was detected. That night, I went to bed around 11. Didn't hear anything. But in the morning, there were 6 video files, all triggered between 2:12 and then 2:17 in the night. The first 2 showed nothing. The third showed a person, standing just outside the camera's range. Only their shoulders barely visible in the top right corner, like they knew where the blind spot was. File 4. Blank. File 5. The person leaned forward just enough that I could see part of their face. They were wearing a hoodie pulled tight. Jawline stiff. Eyes wide open. Not blinking, just staring straight at my door. Then File 6. Was corrupted. I went to the hardware store that afternoon, upgraded everything. New lock. Floodlight. 2 more cameras, one facing the alley from the side, the other angled toward the window. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room, lights off, phone in hand, watching the camera feeds. 2:14 a.m., motion detected, but not from the alley, from the backyard. The camera facing the side fence caught a figure slipping through the gate and kneeling behind the trash bins. They stayed there, didn't move, for 38 minutes. Then they stood up, turned slowly toward the camera, and waved. That was enough. I called the police, but he was gone by the time they arrived. The police took the footage and said they'd increase patrols. Could be a prank, one of them said. Maybe someone is messing with you. I wasn't laughing, but nothing has happened since then. Maybe they got afraid after I called the police. I decided to keep the cameras installed, and I often check the camera on my phone, just in case. I have always been pretty private. Not paranoid, just cautious. Grew up in a suburb outside Minneapolis, in a house where my dad double-checked every lock, and my mom didn't even let delivery drivers hand things to us directly. I used to roll my eyes. I mean, it's 2024. How dangerous could things really be? That's what I thought, until last November. It all started with a package. I was working remotely out of a tiny 1-bedroom unit in St. Paul. Nothing fancy, just enough space for a desk, a couch, and a decent coffee maker. I liked the solitude. It felt secure. One afternoon, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, just delivered your package. Left it at your door." I didn't think much of it. I had ordered some tech accessories from Amazon, a webcam, some HDMI cables. I opened the door and sure enough, a small brown box was sitting on the mat. No label, no branding, just my name handwritten. Weird, right? Still, I picked it up and opened it. Inside was a folded slip of paper and a cheap knockoff webcam, not the one I ordered. The note read, "Thought you might like an upgrade. From your secret fan." No signature, no return address. At first, I thought it was a prank, some dumb joke from a co-worker. I asked around. Nothing. Nobody fessed up. I didn't use this one and decided to wait for the real webcam. That should have been the end of it.
Wait, you didn't report it or anything?
No, I mean, it was just a webcam. I figured it was some promo gone weird or a marketing stunt. But the next day, I got another text. "Glad you got it. It looks great on your shelf." My stomach turned. I looked around my apartment. The webcam was on the shelf. I'd tossed it the night before. But then the message mentioned my shelf. I felt like someone was watching me. I closed all the blinds. I checked the locks. Then I looked at the message again. The number wasn't one I could trace. No name, no info. So I did what most people would do. I blocked the number. But a new one texted me the next day. "Why'd you block me?" And attached was a photo of me, sitting at my desk, wearing the same hoodie I had on that moment. I bolted out of my chair and scanned the windows. I lived on the second floor of a small brick complex. Nothing crazy tall. But across the alley was a maintenance shed with a ladder leaned casually against it, just high enough to reach the window. I closed the blinds, called the building manager, and told him everything. He sounded irritated, like I was being dramatic. "I'll look into it," he said, "but those ladders aren't ours." So I called the police. They sent someone out, took a statement. I showed them the texts, the photo. They asked if I had any enemies. Exes. Angry coworkers. I told them no. I live a quiet life. No drama. The officer jotted something down and said they'd keep an eye out. That was it.
So what did you do?
What could I do? I bought blackout curtains. Moved my desk away from the window. Stopped working in that spot altogether. For a while, things went quiet, until the following Friday. I was out getting groceries, and when I came back, my door was open. Just slightly ajar. I froze. Everything inside me screamed to run. But I had to know. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. Nothing looked out of place. No drawers open, no furniture moved. But when I walked into the bedroom, there was a note on my pillow. Written the same handwriting as before. You really should lock your windows. I felt sick. I didn't stay that night. I grabbed my laptop, my wallet, and went to a friend's place across town. Called the cops again. This time they sent forensics, checked for prints, but nothing. Whoever it was had worn gloves. No cameras in the building. No witnesses. Nothing. They told me the same thing. We'll file a report. But without more evidence, we cannot do much this time. I changed the locks. Installed cameras. Alerted the landlord, who finally agreed to install better security doors. But here's the part that really haunts me. About a week later, I was going through some of my tech stuff to reorganize. I found a USB drive tucked behind my router, wedged between the cords like it had fallen. I didn't recognize it. I plugged it into an old laptop, disconnected from the internet. On it, videos, dozens of them, each one time-stamped, all taken from inside my apartment. Angles I didn't even know someone could set up. One above the kitchen, one behind the TV, one inside the bedroom vent. I watched maybe 30 seconds of one clip. Me, brushing my teeth, walking into the living room, completely unaware. That's when I knew this wasn't just someone being creepy. It was methodical. Planned. Obsessed.
Do you know who it was?
Not officially. The police took the drive, launched a bigger investigation. But last I heard, nothing. No arrests, no answers. Just quiet. But here's what still gets me. Whoever it was, they knew everything. My habits, my routines. The way I leave my keys by the counter. The time I brush my teeth. When I sleep, I realize that not every threat kicks down your door. Sometimes, it leaves a gift.